What's going on, everybody? What's going on? Hope everybody's doing all right. We're going to be doing the, excuse me while I fix this. We're going to be starting the promotion, heading up to the Mission Pro Wrestling show, and I'm going to have Brittani Nikole, and she's coming in. We are. Are you in? Hey, there you go. How you doing?
Boom! Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Just trying to get all this stuff to work. Sometimes I'm not good with technology, but how's everything? So like I said, we're getting started with the promotion toward Hell Hath No Fury, presented by Mission Pro Wrestling, and you will be the commentator, one of the commentators for that show. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. I will be one of the commentators. I'm really excited that Holly Dead is actually on commentary with me. So it's me and Holly Dead. So that's going to be interesting. She's already asked probably about 5 times if it's a PG show. So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. So one thing I just wanted to get out the way quickly. One of my favorite things to do is eat. Now you are living in Louisiana, New Orleans. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. I live in
So
New Orleans. So
you got to
yeah.
tell me where to go to get some authentic New Orleans food, like some gumbo and some seafood and crawfish, whatever it is. What was it like the transition for you going into New Orleans as far as food goes?
I mean, there's a lot of good places in New Orleans. I mean, if you want to do like touristy places, there's like Acme and like Coops and stuff like that. But if you want like actual like New Orleans stuff, you just find some random hole in the wall. You find a place that's built behind a bar somewhere where you have to go through the bar to get to the restaurant, but they're not the same actual like
Right,
companies. Yeah.
right.
In New Orleans, there's a lot of small little spaces, so you've kind of got to say, nice shape on the. Are you talking about me? My shape on my brows or his brow? Oh, you can't see his brows.
No, yeah,
Somebody said nice shape on
that's my
those
brother.
brows.
He's that's my brother. He's very he enjoys a good eyebrow.
Thank you. So I have to draw mine on basically because mine stopped growing like here, so I have to draw the tails on. So I don't know if that's lucky or not because I see a lot of girls shave them off anyways. So I don't know. I was born with good brows, I guess.
Hey, so you're originally from Cleveland, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm from a little town near Cleveland, and it's just easier for me to say Cleveland because
Right.
if I say Collins, no one knows what that is. It's not even on a map of Ohio.
So you decided you were going to leave Cleveland, and you decided you were going to go to Florida, and somehow you ended up in New Orleans. So what made you decide New Orleans, and what kept you there, really?
Um, well, I'm trapped. No, I'm just not kidding. I was gonna say I'm trapped, but I'm not. So basically, I had loved New Orleans. I saw it on the Travel Channel when I was a kid, and I was like 9 years old, and I told my mom, I was like, I'm gonna move there because vampires live there. And my mom was like, no, you're not. And I'm not, I'm 9. I'm like, yes, I am. And then when I turned 19, I was like, okay, I'm going to New Orleans. Bye. And she, of course, I'm the baby, so she was all upset. And I'm like, I gave you 10 years fair warning about this. Like I prepared you. But yeah,
Yeah,
I just
definitely.
always loved New Orleans, so whenever I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And so I guess I started at that young of age where I was like, I'm going to move to New Orleans. And so I did. I kind of was like, Florida's not that interesting. I'm going to go to New Orleans. Sorry, everybody who lives in Florida that I love, but New Orleans is a lot more interesting.
When you were growing up, though, you were a huge fan of pro wrestling. Being a girl and a fan of pro wrestling, did you get a lot of looks when you came in with your merchandise shirts to school, or when you were talking about Monday Night Raw or SmackDown?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, most of my friends were guys just for that reason alone. I had a lot of guy friends growing up, especially when I was younger, because they were the only ones that would talk to me about wrestling. And my two youngest cousins that lived close to me, they were both boys as well, and they watched wrestling. So I would go to their house and watch wrestling. And so that's the only people I would talk about. So when I did start hanging out with girls and talking wrestling, it was not a thing. It was not a it was really strange. And as I got older, it was one of those things of I started judging like who I hung out with by if they were able to accept me for liking wrestling. Even if they didn't like wrestling, I get it. It's not for everybody. But if they were rude about it and crass about it, like it strictly sticks in my head. I had a boyfriend one time who, when I said I liked wrestling, he said, "How? You're intelligent and you have all your teeth." And I was like,
Whoa.
so it's that
I
kind of,
resent that
right?
on
And
both
so I was like,
accounts.
yeah, we're no longer. I was like, okay, this is going to be a very short relationship. I was like, okay, bye. But
And
yeah, it's,
never have I heard a woman say that she chose Monday Night Raw over a whole relationship.
yeah, boy, bye.
Um,
Not,
so you moved out here, and then you got into the business. You did a lot of announcing and a lot of awesome photo shoots. When it came to announcing and interviewing, though, you say you'd like to call back to Lillian Garcia and Paul Heyman. Can you tell me can you tell me what it was about them that made you gravitate toward them as far as interviewing?
well, I mean, so when I got into the business, I was supposed to be, I came in blind. I came in just being a fan. I came in not being trained in any aspect, in ring, out of ring, anything. So I was supposed to be trained at the school I was going to be at. However, they just kind of kept pushing it back and basically just threw me to the wolves and was like, okay, you're announcing, have fun. So I had to teach myself. And with teaching myself, I grew up in the Attitude Era. So Lillian Garcia, I saw a lot of. Paul Heyman, I saw a lot of. And so I just kind of learned from that because they are kind of the base. Like Lillian is the base, you know, she is the most well known of the female announcers in the more kind of mainstream media of that stick. So I just followed her and tried to also do my own thing with it, not to sound so much robotic or so much like her, so that people are like, oh, she's just trying to sound like that, like Lillian, you know. And then Paul Heyman's just like I say, he's a genius, an evil genius, but he's a genius in any way you want to cut it. Whether you like him or not, he's made some magical moments happen and some great things happen in history. So it's, I have to give my props to the way he does everything. And also, I just, that's one of my main people I would love to interview one day would be Paul Heyman. Like if I've interviewed Paul Heyman, I'd just retire. I'd be like, okay, I'm done. Bye.
It, it would just be, oh, my girlfriend is just waving at you right now, Sasha.
Hi.
Um,
Sasha Fierce. Yes, Fierce Sasha.
so yeah, it would be definitely intimidating to talk to somebody like Paul Heyman, only because he would just get in your head so good that whatever you had prepared, just out the window. So
Right.
Paul Heyman, in past interviews, he's talked about somebody who's helped him during his first years. And it turns out, reading up on you, that it was also somebody that you looked up to. You both have a mutual respect and love for Dusty Rhodes. Can you tell me what
Yes.
Dusty Rhodes means to you?
Uh, Dusty Rhodes means the world to me. I mean, that's one of the many reasons I want to learn, would love to learn, just even like for a day from Paul, is because what he's learned from Dusty is passed down through him. Since I can no longer learn from Dusty since he's passed, I just, and it also, Dusty's like, he's always held a special place in my heart just because my family grew up watching him. So even
Okay.
though I grew up in the Attitude Era, it kind of transitioned into, and then when I got older and started watching the older stuff, I was like, oh, I remember this when I was little, but I couldn't quite comprehend it. And just everything he's done for the business, and his kids going off and continuing on with the business and continuing to make it grow is just, you know, everything that Cody is doing is pretty much what Dusty was doing in a way of being, you know, kind of doing his own thing, but expanding the business and growing it for the better for the future. And I just really enjoy Dusty. Actually, I have I have his book over here right next to me, actually. But yeah, Dusty. And also, my very first time ring announcing ever was the day that he died. So my
Whoa,
first,
really?
yeah, yeah. So like my very start of my career was the day that he passed away. So like I was a train wreck in the morning, but I remember having to pull myself together and I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. So yeah, my career started the day he passed.
Man, that's so poetic. I remember an interview Paul Heyman talked about. I think he was like emceeing the event, and he had to do one of those intro spots where it's like, here we are at so and so place in so and so city, and the main event is la 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 la. He goes up to Dusty, who's booking the whole show. It was Mr. Rhodes, and he was like wet behind the ears, still not Paul Heyman. He was Paul Heyman, but not Paul Heyman. So he goes up to Dusty, and he's just like, how was that? Was that good? I named all the matches, and then I wish I had a good Dusty impression. Maybe you do, but he was just like, "There's this one thing, baby. Where's the money, baby? Where's the money?" And like it was all about selling those tickets. And I just
What are you
recently
selling?
interviewed Al
What
Snow,
are
and
you selling?
yeah, he's like, you go out there and you are your own commercial. They
Hmm.
give you that spot, they give you that TV time, and you need to sell your product to make people leave this comfy couch of theirs, go to a building that they hardly go to, eat food that they don't want to eat, sit next to people that they don't even know, and watch
Hmm.
you. And I'm like, I'm sitting here now. This is Al Snow, and I've learned a genius when it comes to the business. And I'm
Oh
just sitting
yeah.
here like, oh my god. And then I asked him about one cool story that I'll always take with me. I asked him about when he turned heel on Mick Foley, when he was being jealous of The Rock and all that stuff. And he's like, people need those backstage skits so they can see why I'm acting like this. He goes,
Hmm.
if I just beat up Mick Foley, what am I doing? I'm just beating up Mick
Yeah.
Foley. But then you
Oh yeah.
learn that I'm jealous of his relationship with The Rock, and I'm jealous of the book, and I throw the book out into the trash. He goes, once you understand that why, that's when you buy into the heel. And then I asked him, I was like, it was Jake the Snake Roberts who said a heel needs to feel justified in everything he does. So the heel needs to feel like he's doing the right thing. This is what anybody would do in this situation. And then he
Yep.
looked at me in the eye. He goes, you don't know it, but you're a heel in somebody's story. And I was
Yep.
like, holy crap. And he goes, you feel justified in every one of your decisions, but you're a heel in somebody's story.
Oh
Going
yeah.
on with your career, you decided. Well, it was this past year that you decided to uh, buy. It was October, I think. You bought Elev8 Pro Wrestling out there.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it was it was a very quick decision. The company was going to be sold. I'd been working for the company for 3 years at that time, and the promoter who owned it was going to sell the company and either fold it or just give it to somebody just random and stuff like that. So I was like, well, guess I'm going to become a promoter. So I bought it. And
Becoming the first and I think still only female promoter in the state of Louisiana. Now,
yes.
I feel like I'm still living in the '80s when I say something like that, but that's still an accomplishment. Does it make it difficult for you? Do you see a whole nother new layer of a challenge when it comes to your gender in the wrestling
Oh,
business?
so I you can see it. I think you can see it. This thing right here that's hanging
Okay.
on this wall right here, this is my license, my promoter's license uh for all of the wrestling in Louisiana. You get a license like this from the commissioner because we have a commission. So I hang that baby on my wall because it's so hard to get a license. You have to have the right paperwork. You have to have a long enough experience. You have to have people actually like give you references and vouch for you. And at least one of the people in the commission has to vouch for you as well. And it ain't easy. And so when I showed up to get my license, it was one of those things of never had a woman gotten a license in the state of Louisiana, a promoter's license. And so when I showed up with two guys who also were my head trainers who have like 20 years of experience. Speaking of Al Snow, Ben, he was at OVW developmental, and he's our head trainer at our training school. And so I brought them to be like, my 5 years experience, their experience, we have a lot of experience together. I'm putting this company on my back, but these are the people that are my advisors per se, just to give me a little bit more merit. And so when they showed up, they thought one of them was getting the license. They didn't even consider me. They just thought I was like
They
someone's
thought you were carrying the briefcase with the papers.
Right. I was like someone's girlfriend or something. I was just there, you know. And so when I sat down in the middle, and it's like this, they're up on these pillars, like these podiums, like it's a trial. And you have this little microphone you pull down, and they just berate you with questions, and they ask you a bunch of questions, and then they all vote right then and there in front of you on whether you get a license or not. And so I'm just sitting there, and they're like, who's getting the license? And I was like, me. And they're like, oh, well, young lady. And I was like, oh, this is how this is going to go. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. But I got it.
Awesome.
And I never go through that again,
awesome.
ever again. I just have to pay my fees and my dues and like see that I run successful shows. I never have to go through the council ever again.
That's awesome. And you know, you should have invited those council members to the first show that you ran, because it turned out to be a sellout.
Thank
was
you.
that
Well,
a...
one of them was there. One of them was there. They have to be there.
That's good. You should have looked at him like, you paid a ticket, right? Yes, sit your ass down. But was that a sense of accomplishment or validation? And if so, it was. Do you feel like that was a certain point in your life that you said, okay, I'm doing this right? And what do you see for the future?
I mean, I didn't know what to expect for our very first show under my belt, and all I knew is that I have a set of things I want for this company that are completely different than any Louisiana company by standards. It's hard to run shows in Louisiana given that there's a commission. There's a lot of hoops you got to jump through. You got to make sure that you have an EMT, a doctor, pay the commission. The commission has to show up. All of this stuff has to go right. No color, no pile drivers, no fighting in the crowd. No, very specific rules in Louisiana wrestling. And if you don't follow them, they can pull your license, cancel the show, and fine you a bunch of money.
What if you get colored the hard way?
Well, I get a very stern talking to, and I promise that it'll never happen again.
That probably comes down to the construction of the match, and then it turns into your fault, I guess.
Correct. Yeah, all the buck stops here. Regardless of whatever happens in the ring, even if it's wrestlers from outside of Louisiana, people that come in, like, they got to understand, like, if they do something off the wall because they're just like, screw it, I'm not from here, it doesn't matter, it could be my license. It could be so I have to be very careful on who I hire, what I hire them for, that they are very respectful, that they know that, like, they could ruin my business if they do something crazy and the commissioner wants to take it out on me. So it's one of those things of like, gotta mind your P's and Q's. But I didn't expect any of this to happen. And when it did, I was so excited because now I know that I can grow this company into something huge, because my main goal is to get more women wrestling in Louisiana. A lot of companies don't even have any women wrestling, and some of them only have like one women's match an entire show. Others, I want to make sure that there is a really good base of POCs, because again, that is not something you see a lot of in Louisiana wrestling. You don't get a lot of people of color. I want to make sure that everyone is seen and shows their talents and showcases their talents. I also want to make sure that we have a very opening and welcome LGBTQ community. And again, something in Louisiana that's really unique to see. So my company pulls all of that together and puts on a show, and our audience has never been disappointed, and our wrestlers are happy.
Having a public statement of being an all-inclusive type of company, a lot of people gravitate toward people that they feel represent them. For example, Eddie Guerrero winning the title, the whole Hispanic community went nuts. My mom hates wrestling, and she cheered him so hard. And
Yeah.
so when it comes to representation, it's easier to get the story across and sell those tickets. How important is that to a state like Louisiana to, maybe you got a kid that doesn't want to talk about his or her sexuality because they live in the state of Louisiana where it might be closed-minded when it comes to things like that. How important is wrestling when it comes to kids that don't think there anybody like them out there?
I mean, I always tell this story, and I've told the story a couple times, but and Effie's gonna be like, stop telling this story, or maybe not. I don't know. I love you, Effie. Um, so Effie, if you don't know, he's an amazingly openly gay wrestler, and we do shows in like close to New Orleans area, like 5 minutes away from New Orleans. So technically like New Orleans, like a little itty bitty suburb called Chalmette, and we do shows in New Orleans. That's fine. Almost everything kind of happens there. Nobody bats an eye. But we also were doing shows in a smaller little place called Cecilia that's near Lafayette. It's about 2 hours away. And that's more of like the South. It's
Okay.
more of the kind of thing you think when you think Louisiana. And so we brought Effie in. That crowd did not know what to do. They did not understand. They were like, why is he wearing fishnets? What's going on? What is this? And we also brought in Zicky Dice at the same time. We had them wrestle each other. The
It was
crowd
a
did
whole
not know.
spectacle over there.
The crowd did not know what to do. Zicky had things coming out of his mouth. Effie had things coming out of his mouth. Everyone was so confused. Um, it's one of those things. So we brought Effie is great. Effie is awesome. So once you could tell that there was, I mean, you can feel when a crowd has some kind of like either confusion or tension or both. You don't really know.
Yeah.
And Effie could tell. And so Effie cut a promo after the show and everything like that. And afterwards, he's like, I want to come back. And so we brought him back to that same little town. And the next time we brought him back, there were signs for him. People bought his merch.
Hey.
People had everything for him. And we had several people from the LGBTQ community who were closeted or like very like secluded that did not come to wrestling shows but liked wrestling specifically come to thank him, like little like young kids, like teens, like that have come out and realized that they're gay, were came and like thanked him for being there and stuff. And that's when I realized like I did something right. Cool.
No,
You
yeah,
know, so you know.
the platform of professional wrestling, a lot of people look at us and they're like, okay, whatever, but it does provide some type of escape. I mean, you watch movies, you watch novelas, you watch all that stuff. I watch wrestling. That's my type of escape. As a kid, it sounds cliche, but I did look at these guys like these giants, not in the literal sense, but more like these just larger than life characters.
Mhm.
Sounds straight out of the script, but that's exactly what I felt when I saw these guys.
Yeah.
And I didn't grow up with my father, so it was kind of like these guys were very influential when it came to my childhood. And
Yeah.
Bret Hart and Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, those were my guys. I'm aging myself right now, but Macho Man and Hulk Hogan, those were my guys. Shawn Michaels, when he was in the Rockers, I used to jump fences the way they used to jump the ropes.
Oh
Um,
man, Shawn Michaels is he's my heart. I still like I am in love with Shawn Michaels till the day I die, man.
we were watching, my girlfriend and I, I told her when we were getting together, like, hey, this is a part of my life. This is serious. I am obsessed with this stuff. You need to understand that it could get a little crazy sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes I have the network going all day long sometimes. But so she enjoys some matches and she'll watch a match, but she's very into those documentaries. When you learn
They're so
about the
good.
person, yes, when you learn about the person behind the character, she gets emotionally involved with the person playing this character. So we watched Dark Side of the Ring, and I'm like, this is not like 24. This is not like Chronicle. I mean, those things are good. WWE puts out these things production-wise that second to none. Can't
Yeah.
nobody beat those guys. But when it comes to Dark Side of the Ring, it's something that I had to prepare her for. So I told her about
I
Miss
had to prepare
Elizabeth.
myself for
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I
Like,
told her about Miss Elizabeth, and I'm like, Miss Elizabeth, if you talk to any old school fan, that's your heart. Like
mhm.
I can't put it any other way. Like she was the epitome of class. She was the first. When I talk about the first lady, I talk about the woman who conducts herself as such. You know, we did
Yeah.
have Mae Young, Fabulous Moolah, and we had other female wrestlers, but she was the one. I don't know. I can't even explain it. I can't even put it into
She
words. When
was
it
like the pillar. She was like the top of what it was to be a valet or manager in professional wrestling as a female back then. Miss Elizabeth was, I mean, she was the beauty queen. She was the Miss America. She was
yeah,
the kind of homegrown apple pie, white picket fence kind of showcase of what American beauty was. And basically all the other females, you had, Sherry, and you had Luna, and you had
yeah,
Moolah,
Sapphire.
and
Don't
you had
forget Sapphire.
Sapphire, you had all of them, and they were basically all of them were the complete opposite of no one compared to Miss Elizabeth. And
Yeah,
yeah, I had to
when you ask any
prepare myself.
male fan, no matter how hard they are, no matter how tough they are, you say the name Miss Elizabeth, they're like, man, like they're so romanticized with her. What, so who was
Yes.
it for you when you were a little girl? I know you had Dusty Rhodes, but when it came to the women, who was it that you looked at her and you're like, man, that's what I got to do?
Oh man. I mean, obviously, Trish, Lita. I was more so I was like a girly girl, but I also was a tomboy. It was weird. I liked to be pretty and put makeup on, but also I like to like climb trees and like hit people with sticks. I don't know why that is like my comparison of being a tomboy, but whatever. Uh I was a weird kid. I was like an art kid, like I was in arts class, like there was a cemetery close to my house, so I like basically just lived in that cemetery and like had picnics there and stuff. Anyways, but so I liked Lita because she was pretty. She had makeup, but she also was like really goth and like punk rock, and like I wanted to be goth and punk rock, but I couldn't dress that way, so I would like secretly have like little things like a little armband or like little thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm a rebel. Like I'm like, yeah, check out my Hot Topic wristband. Like I don't know. We didn't have a lot in the country, okay? That's Hot Topic was like the highlight of like hardcore when it came to
Nice.
that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would say Lita definitely shaped a lot of like what I wanted to be in wrestling. Trish and all them were really great. I mean, there's so many of the female wrestlers you look back, like I look back now watching it and I'm just like she didn't get her just due. Like she didn't get her just due. Like it just pops in my head like Alicia Fox. She doesn't get her justice on her being, which I mean she was in the business for so she's been, I mean, not even was she still is, she's been in the business for so long, and people I think forget how long she's been in the business.
Yeah.
How many
I,
times she's basically reinvented herself to continue to move on. That's what I love, is I love seeing the wrestlers that are able to reinvent themselves time and time again to stay relevant in the business. you know
no, definitely. I want to go back to your position as owner of Elevate Pro Wrestling. So I've learned that there's such a brotherhood in the wrestling business. I trained for like a year and a half. I learned to take bumps and do a couple spots. It didn't work out, but those guys still treat me like brothers, and I appreciate that because I'm also living in a spot where I'm not from. I'm originally from New Jersey. Now I'm living in South Texas.
yeah. Oh,
So
we both from north, we moved
yeah,
back to
we're
South.
both out of towners. That's
Yeah.
we end up here somehow. But yeah, so they treated me like family. So when it comes to the ladies and gentlemen that work for your company, is it like you got a bunch of older brothers taking care of you, or is it like they like, oh man, boss is coming, boss?
I am known as Mama Bear. I I didn't choose the title. I don't have kids, so I did not choose to be mother. They've aged me. You can see the bags under my eyes, my wrinkles. But
Right.
I did not choose to be the den mother, as it were, but I am. Um, some of our students are older than me. Some of our students are younger than me. Some of our students, I could be their mother. They're so young. Um, so it's one of those things of I've become this motherly aspect, but it's also because the way I conduct authority is completely different. I treat everything like a business. Wrestling, owning a wrestling company, owning a wrestling school is a business. And as much as I will be your friend, I will also be boss lady. And so if something needs to go down, I will handle it accordingly. I make sure everyone, gets their pay. I make sure everyone is safe, everyone feels comfortable, all that kind of stuff. But I need to treat it like a business. So it's one of those things of people know that they can joke around and have fun with me and everything like that. But every now and then I'm like, okay, business hat on. Here's what we need to do. So but yeah, I'm everyone's mom. But outside of Elev8 Pro, I'm completely developed these wonderful friendships with a lot of people, especially in Texas. A lot of people, a lot of wrestlers in Texas have become like brothers and sisters to me. And it's one of those things of, it's so nice because, again, not, I don't bump. Like, I can bump, but I don't bump. I'm not part of that kind of area. So for them to bring me still into the fold and still see me as somebody that they can trust and talk to about the business and talk to about their matches and actually listen to advice I have on maybe you should do this move or maybe you should do this finish, like maybe your finish should be like this, like, and just kind of shoot, the shit with them. I don't know if we can curse. But and just talk to them and be on that level. It's really an honor because I haven't been put through the ringer, as it were, when it comes to training. I do know a little, but I'm not going to say that I know exactly the skills that they can do. I can't do a front flip bump, so I'm nobody. But I can chain, but that's about it. But that's the extent of when it comes to that. So yeah, I'm the mama in Elev8 Pro, and everywhere else I'm a peer. So
when it comes to all the positions that you do have in the company, I've read that you're not only the owner, but you do the announcing, you do ring announcing. There's so many. I feel like you're doing the '80s Vince McMahon stuff, where like, oh, he's there, and now he's in the editing room, and now he's producing that skit, and oh look, Vince is over here like recruiting people. Okay, respectfully, with all due respect, are you doing that because you feel I need to see everything done, or is it maybe a trust issue, or maybe you haven't found somebody that you trust enough to say, you know what, maybe you can direct that tonight,
well, so the reason that I do this is because I do. So for Elev8 Pro, the reason that I am the announcer and interviewer for Elev8 is because I have a team running Gorilla in the back. So I don't have to. So Ben, our head trainer, and Mott Fleming, they run Gorilla in the back. So Ben has the list. He calls the times. We have a monitor. He's conducting things with the wrestlers and everything like that. So I'm able to not worry about it and be carefree and go out there and announce. If I did not have them, I would be in the back doing it, and I would hire somebody to announce. But they give me, it's almost like a little mini vacation. They give me like a little break on show day where I just got to show up, make sure I'm pretty, and grab the mic, get all the info, and host the show, pump up the crowd, announce, do some interviews backstage before the show, intermission time, blah, 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 blah. And it's almost like a nice little freeing thing for me to do that as my creative part, because that's still what I get hired to do outside of Elev8. The promotion doesn't make me any money at all, as most promotions don't make promoters money.
Right.
So the way that I make bread and butter, and the way that I also continue to do my art form of my true, like, initial art, is announcing, commentary, interviews, and also somehow I've still managed to find myself back behind the scenes. Just last Saturday, I did a show for Kickstart My Heart Wrestling in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and I ran Gorilla the whole show. I wasn't in front, anything like that. I ran Gorilla and called the times and everything to start to teach the promoter himself there how to do it and what exactly goes into running an entire show. And since I did it so well, I think that I'm going to be continued to be doing that for the shows, because the wrestlers really enjoyed my times. I timed that match. I'm just going to toot my own horn here. I timed that show out to 1 hour and 53 minutes. When I say that it hit 1 hour 53 on the dot, it hit 1 hour 53 on the dot.
On the dot.
On the dot. The tag team champions who had just won the championships that night, Team Crazy Hot, they ran into the Gorilla with their phones being like, 1 hour 53! They freaked out and started telling me about it. And I was like, they're like, you did it! I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Nice. So before we move on to the Hell Hath No Fury show, can let us know where they can look up Elev8 Pro Wrestling, because I know you guys are trying your best to stay consistent during the pandemic,
yes.
And you have some cool YouTube videos coming out. So go ahead and let it all out.
Yeah, so Elev8 Pro is super simple. You can find everything at Elev8 Pro. So it's ELEV, the number 8, and then Pro. Everywhere, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, it's all the same. And also we have a website, elev8pro.com. Super, super simple. And we also are trying to put out weekly content of a television show, just to keep things. We have a lot of footage that we haven't used yet, a lot of things people haven't seen yet. We try to keep that relevant because we want to give people something, and we know right now a lot of people need an escape, and wrestling is an escape, as we talked about before. And so in order to keep the content going, I want to be able to give people entertainment when I can't physically give them live entertainment, because we can't do any shows at all in Louisiana still. We're completely still shut down, so we can't even do outside shows, anything. So just giving them the little bit of content so that they have something to watch on YouTube when they're not watching all the other wrestling under the sun. They can watch something local and see, like, you know, their local favorites and people that they might know and stuff like that. We also try to tie in businesses with it, because we do like commercials for local businesses and put them in there, and we have sponsors and stuff that we thank, and just trying to help those businesses too, because they're hurting as well when it comes to this. So we're trying to that's my main thing. So yeah, Elev8 Pro everywhere, elev8pro.com. If you want to go just there, you'll find everything there.
Awesome. So let's move on to Mission Pro Wrestling, a show that I am proud to be sponsoring, and I'm going to be there covering and taking pictures and doing interviews. Now, young lady, just what does this mean to you? Because I can see outside looking in is a different perspective, but you get to be in there as a woman who owns her own wrestling company, as a woman in these days where still kind of fighting for equality. You still get looks whenever you own this place. Like, what does this show mean to you?
I get that a lot. People ask me if they're like, is it a shoot? Like, do you own it? Or I straight up get that all the time. I get so many people asking me.
So it's your dad's company, right? Like, where's he?
Right. They're like, is it it's a shoot, right? I'm just like, no, it's not. No, yeah, it's mine. It's mine. They're like, or is it a shoot, or is it, who do I my favorite is when people ask me who I contact. I'm like, me? You contact me.
We're talking right now. Yeah.
We're talking right now. So Mission Pro, first of all, when Thunder Rosa announced that they were going to be all female and everything like that, I instantly was like, oh, like I already had been looking on the radar and I was like, oh, this is cool. I would love to put my stuff in. But I also saw, you know how when things like blow up, and since the speaking out movement, thank God it blew up. But there was articles written about Mission Pro at that time, and there were articles being written about like her looking for people and this and that, and they were going to start this all female owned, run, everything company.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, everyone and their mother is going to be putting in stuff like pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me. And I'm like, I'm never gonna get in. Like I'm gonna be like it's gonna go to some other girl that does a lot of interviews or something, or it's gonna go to somebody else. I was like, it's never gonna be me. And Thunder Rosa personally contacted me and was like, hey, I want to see your stuff. Like, do you have a reel and stuff? And I was like, me? Do you even know who I am? Like, I was so excited. And then when I found out that Holly Dead was going to be on the commentary team with me, I was like, oh, this is going to be so good. And so, yeah, I can't wait to be there. I'm driving there. And so, because it's like 6, 7 hours away. It's not that far. I do the drives, brother. and and so I'm so excited to go there. I'm excited to hopefully showcase what I'm capable of doing and also add something to it, because that's why I like doing this and being on the media side, is because I like further telling the stories. Like we were talking about the interviews you see backstage and all that kind of stuff. I like getting the wrestlers over. I like getting the stories over. I like being a part of that journey and helping people see the wrestlers transition into this story or tell this story. I like being a part of that and being able to help as like a little bit of a guide to help further tell these magnificent stories they put together. So I'm elated and I can't wait. That card is so stacked and I'm so excited.
I was looking at some highlight videos of some of the ladies and I was like, I think I just peed a little, because like some of them are so tough. Like Jenna Van Muscles.
I love Jenna.
Like she put up something to promote Mission Pro, and I was like, she's gonna kill somebody. Like she's gonna murder somebody. That's what's gonna happen. But she is going up against Roxy, and Roxy is like the heart attack scene. Yeah. So I want to talk about
the prodigy herself, she is the prodigy. Roxy. Yes.
Definitely the prodigy. So I want to talk about hey, Mission Pro Wrestling.
We're just talking about you.
We were just talking about you. So I do want to talk about how mainstream wrestling did help when it came to the image of the female wrestler. But it seems like you need consistency. And I know that they have, the women's tag team belts and the women's belt, and they are part of these big stories. What can you say about Thunder Rosa? And it almost seems like she's in the driver's seat to crash it into your face. Like she wants you to know that this is serious, and we're just not part of the show, but we are the show. So tell me about how you feel about Thunder Rosa and what she can do for women's wrestling, at least in the independent circuit, to get more eyes on.
I mean, first of all, thanks. Thank you. I would have to say that the fact that she has been around and has worked so hard and has built herself up, and the thing is like still on mainstream, there's a difference between people who watch independent wrestling and there's a difference between people who only know mainstream wrestling like WWE. And the fact that she is kind of almost bashing that wall down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know a lot of people who only know WWE, don't even watch like AEW, or don't even watch, but like they know who Thunder Rosa is. Like
Yeah.
it's one of those things of it's so good to see, and for her to take that energy, because that's what I want to try to do on my media side of things, and on being a female business owner and all that kind of stuff, which is the same thing that she's doing. I want people to use, I want to use my power, and she's using her power to be able to open up doors for people and be able to showcase the talent that is in the female world of wrestling and media and everything like that. So she's using her powers for good, as it
Yeah.
were. And I feel like there's not a lot of people, male or female, in that are in that kind of power that do that. So kudos and thank you to her for actually taking that step and going, you know what, we're going to do this thing, and we're going to do it right, and we're going to do, a full women's show, bringing on Robin Reed. Like Robin, it's so funny. I'm so happy to see all of these people like bloom into who they are, and I'm glad that I'm being brought into it too, because Robin was Elev8 Pro's very first women's champion ever. So, and we, back when like she was just starting out, and she was looking for bookings, and she wasn't really getting a lot of bookings, and we were like, we're gonna make you champion, like we're gonna push you, like I have such a special place in my heart for Robin when it comes to that. And yeah, I mean, thanks Thunder. If you're listening, Thunder Rosa, I can't wait to meet you. I've never actually met her. That's why I'm really stoked that she wanted
Yeah,
me to do
I
this.
approached her for an interview a few weeks ago, and then I was just like, you know what? I feel like right now is the right. I just feel this thing that I just need to take the next step when it comes to DNC Digital. I have the YouTube channel, and I do a lot of other things. I do graphic arts, and I do acting on the side, but I'm trying to make the DNC Digital cover like the central hub to all these things that I like to do. So I got shirts made, and God willing, I'll be taking them to the show. But I was like,
Yeah,
I
I
need.
want one.
Oh yeah, definitely. $20. I'm good.
See,
But I was like, I need to get my name out there, because as hard as I work on my interviews, and it's a YouTube channel. You have a YouTube channel. It's very hard, because somebody can say, hey, my buddy has a YouTube channel, and it's cool. And the guy's like, all right, cool. But you need names behind you to help you out. So that's why I started this partnership, and I was so excited. And Thunder's been so gracious and so cool about pushing my stuff out there. And we've decided to do a few Instagram lives a week with all the ladies involved leading up to the show. So let's talk about the show. We talked about Jenna Van Muscles and Roxy. That's the one for me that I'm like, I want to see that. Is there one that sticks out to you, especially as a commentator, that you're going to love to call?
I'm really excited for Thunder Rosa and Lindsay Snow. That's
Yeah.
that's gonna be like dangerous, like that's gonna be just pure danger. Like I'm gonna make sure that I have all of my stuff like gathered with me in case the commentary table like becomes part of the match itself.
Right.
Like I'm just mentally prepared. I'm gonna be like, okay, I have my drink, I have my phone, I have my notes. Okay, I'm ready to run at any given moment. Like I'm gonna mentally prepare myself for that. I mean, there's just so many. Like, I'm just really, really excited to see. There's some girls I've never seen wrestle live, so
Right.
I'm really excited to
And then
see.
you have Big Swole coming from AEW to.
I saw the very yeah. Oh, I love. Look. Okay, she's scary, but she's also a softie, because I saw her and Nicole Savoy together and Shimmer, together with
Right.
their tag team. So like that's actually where I first met all of them. And but man, this show is gonna be so. I'm just like, first of all, I heard that front row is VIP is sold out, right?
Sold out. It's done. And
Front row and
there's
VIP
still a
is
few
completely
tickets
sold
left,
out.
but VIP is totally out.
Yeah,
And VIP doesn't only get you front seat. It doesn't only get you front row seats, but I know that there's autographs involved, but it's just becoming such a good show. And something I'm feeling right now is something that I love. You meet a person, and whether they're wearing merch or not, but if you find out that they're a huge pro wrestling fan, you're just best friends forever now. Like,
Yes.
you talk about your love for pro wrestling, you talk about your favorite memories, you talk about an exciting show coming up. So there are a few things I did want to ask you, just shooting off the cuff. You had a Raven action figure, and then you ended up working with it.
Yes. Yes.
First off, it's like a love-hate thing that you had the action figure, but the true wrestling fan would know why you had that action figure. So can you tell me about how it
Yeah.
came full circle and you ended up working with him?
Oh, yeah, that was so cool. That night, not only did I work with Raven, but that night I worked with BWO. So I had Blue Meanie and I had Stevie
Oh,
Richards
wow.
as well. And I got to announce them. I got to announce BWO together. And so that was iconic. Like that made me feel good. And I also was working with the stud muffin himself, Joel Gertner. So like on top of
Jeez.
that. Yeah.
Uh,
So
you wearing
me and him
the
were
turtleneck and the scarf?
Yes. Oh yeah, and the neck brace and the little bow tie. Oh, he had the fur coat on, even though it was like 100 degrees here in Louisiana.
You
He
got to sell it.
committed.
You got to sell it.
He committed so
Yeah.
hard, and we co-hosted the show together.
Okay.
So that was like really, really, really cool. But yeah, meeting him, I had completely forgot that I had that action figure. I don't have it anymore. But which I'm sad about because now I'm like, oh, that probably right. That was the point that I would have been like, hey, can you sign this for me? Uh,
Well, you know what?
but
It's funny you bring that up because you have been working with so many people, and you got to meet all these wrestling personalities. Well, who gave you that moment? Who gave you that moment where you just weren't professional anymore? Like, I got to meet and interview Townsend Coleman, who played Michelangelo in the Ninja Turtles,
yeah.
and I've been able to interview all these cool. I interviewed Aaron from The Walking Dead, Ross Marquand, and I interviewed Al Snow and Coco Beware and Brian Cage and Sammy Guevara. But once I went up to him and I asked him for the interview, he said, yeah. I immediately just started sweating. Sweating, heart was like this, and he's like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, you just don't know who you were for me when I was a kid. You're
You don't understand.
Michelangelo, and I'm talking to him, and we still keep in touch. And I'm still, whenever he texts me, like he sent me a message for my birthday, and I looked at it, and I'm like, Michelangelo just sent me a message for my birthday. So cool, just chilling. So who was it for you that you met them, a wrestling personality that you said, I'm not a professional anymore, I'm a total fan?
There's a few. I pride myself, but I also kick myself because it's one of those things of like, in this business, I was taught young that you don't mark out. Like, that's one of those things, like, no, you don't ask to take pictures with them. You don't ask for autographs. You don't talk to them. And I'm really sad that I learned that because yes, you shouldn't, in certain, read the room, just read the room and see. But I also am really sad that I didn't get photos with several of these people because they did have a pivotal point in my growth. The very first show that I ever did, when they were like, all right, here you go, when Dusty passed away, on that bill was Chavo Guerrero, it was Brian Kendrick, it was Brian Cage as well, it was Keith Lee, Shane Taylor, Ray Horace, the list goes on and on. But Chavo, like, and this is my first show, I had never announced before in my life. I was so nervous, and I was pacing before the show, just freaked out, and Chavo was sitting in the bleachers, and Chavo was like, hey, you nervous? And I was like, I guess he clocked me instantly. He's just like, this rookie. And I was just like, and he's like, come here. And he like told me and taught me kind of and talked me down off the ledge and basically walked me through like the basics of how I needed to do this. And I got through that baby. And when I got through it, I guess he must have told somebody, because afterwards Brian Kendrick came up to me and was like, "You did good," and like gave me pointers and critiques and all that kind of stuff. So I really wish that I would have taken a picture with Chavo, because that was the first and last time so far in my career that I've worked with Chavo. And it was such a magic moment. But also, like, Ron Simmons, I worked with Ron Simmons.
Wow, I
That
got to
was
mean Ron Simmons. That guy was
that
cool. He is so cool.
that was amazing. We had a beer together afterwards because we had to all go to the after party. And so it was me, him, Stevie Richards, and Teddy Long all having a beer together and chatting. And like, I know.
Did you ask Stevie Long to put you in a 6-man tag match? I would have totally asked him that.
No, but that man made me. I had to announce him. He was going for the championship at the time, and I had to, when I announced him, his card that he made me list off every single championship he had ever won. I still have the card. It is somewhere in my WrestleDex. I have a wrestling like book that has everyone I've ever announced in it, and it's somewhere in my WrestleDex. He made me list off every single championship he has ever won.
Nice.
All of them. That introduction was like a good 7 minutes long. But yeah, oh my God, $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase,
Got to meet them,
you
yeah.
know, Bob Holly. I got an interview with Bob Holly, even though he really doesn't do interviews. He did an interview for me. Everybody was super nervous about like, oh, don't ask him for an interview. And I was like, Mr. Holly, I'm like, can I get an interview with you real quick for the show? And he was like, only for you. And I was like, yes.
Nice. Awesome.
So yeah, I mean, there's so many of them I really wish I would have gotten pictures with, and I'm really sad.
I always ask for pictures, and if I had the money that night, I buy an autograph, or I ask them for an autograph if they're nice enough. It's funny. I interviewed Coco Beware, and he's like, "You want to grab something? I'll sign it for you." I'm like, "Thanks, man." So then I interviewed everybody else, and it was like a Comic-Con. It's called Collectomania. So
Yeah.
I interviewed Carlos Ferro, who was Dominic Santiago in Gears of War. I interviewed Catherine Sutherland, who played the Pink Ranger. So I ended up buying autographs from them. And then I caught up with Coco Beware to thank him. And he's like, "Oh, look, everybody else gave you an autograph." I'm like, "No, I bought them." And he's like, "Was I the only one that gave you one for free?" And I was like, "Yes, you were." He's like, "Look at that." I was like, "Do you want me to pay you for the autograph?" He goes, No, it's fine. Just go ahead and keep it. Go ahead. I was like, all right, man. So the show is Mission Pro Wrestling. Hell Hath No Fury. September 18th, Buda, Texas at Pinballs. I'm so excited. I want to thank you for your time today. All of your followers, if you're in the chat right now, follow me at DNC Digital. All you got to do is pick the thing at the top of the screen and whatever. I don't know where it is. It's up there. But I appreciate your time. But yeah, I guess I'll definitely see you at the show. Women of Wrestling just joined in.
Oh, hello.
Just in time to be too late. But I appreciate everybody who's watched.
What's up?
I appreciate look at them. They're shouting you out. But yeah, this will be up on YouTube later tonight. But yeah, Miss Brittani, I appreciate you so much. Brittani Nikole, ladies and gentlemen, calling the action at Hell Hath No Fury, Mission Pro Wrestling, all women's event, first step into the future. I'm very excited. And you guys have a great night. Thanks so much. Take care.
Bye. Aw.